mynews.studio.
Picture this: a London conference room, negotiators from the US and China shaking hands on a deal that could shift the course of global trade. But the big question is, will it actually last?
Today's date is June 11th, 2025. After years of rising tariffs and back-and-forth standoffs, the US and China have come to a tentative trade agreement. Think of it as a truce, at least for now. So, what's actually in this deal? And why are markets reacting so quickly?
At the center of it, there's a 90-day pause on most of the harshest tariffs. The US is suspending 24 percentage points of extra tariffs on Chinese goods, but keeping a 10% tariff in place. China's matching that move on US products. On top of that, both sides are dropping some of the non-tariff barriers that made the trade war worse. Do you think this is enough to ease tensions?
For now, it looks like it. Markets around the world jumped as soon as this came out. But let's dig into the details. There's also a new system for ongoing talks, and the US is hinting it might loosen some export controls, especially for things like airplane parts and semiconductors. In return, China's reopening some rare earth exports. That's a pretty clear exchange, right?
It is. There's also a people's side to this. The US is rolling back a planned visa ban on Chinese students. Why is that important? It suggests both countries want to keep working together, not just on trade, but in science and education too.
But we should probably clarify. This is just a framework, not a full agreement. Both leaders, Trump and Xi Jinping, still need to officially sign off. What if either side decides to walk away?
Then the whole thing could fall apart. That's why a lot of analysts are calling this a step back from conflict, not a final solution. Markets are relieved, but there's plenty of risk left. They've scheduled regular meetings to keep tabs during the 90-day pause, but the actual enforcement rules aren't public. Doesn't that make things a bit shaky?
It does. And there's another dimension here, the fact that export controls are now a subject for negotiation. Could that set a pattern for future disputes, especially as tech keeps getting more important in both economies?
That's the central issue. Export controls on advanced tech, semiconductors for instance, have always been contentious. The US wants to guard its lead, while China wants more access. Even a small rollback could encourage more bargaining down the line. So, are both sides just postponing a bigger confrontation?
Could be. But right now, the effects are tangible. The US and China together make up close to 40% of the world's GDP. Their trade conflict has slowed down supply chains and raised costs everywhere. Do you think this breakthrough might spark cooperation on bigger challenges like climate or new technology?
It certainly creates an opening. Just the announcement has steadied global markets and given businesses a bit of space to plan. But since so much is unresolved, everyone's waiting to see if this fragile setup holds. Could this be the turning point, or is it just a short pause in a long rivalry?
That's what to keep an eye on. We've seen these hopeful moments before, only to watch negotiations stall. The plan calls for regular talks, but without clear rules for enforcement, there's risk. What's your main takeaway here?
The tariff pause matters, but the real challenge is whether both sides use this time to build trust and tackle the deeper problems. Otherwise, 3 months from now, we could be right back at square one.
It really shows how linked the world economy is. When two major powers step back from conflict, the effects ripple everywhere. But as always, the details and what happens next will make all the difference.
If you want to follow global economics, this deal is one to watch. Thanks for unpacking it with me.
Thank you for listening. Today's episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. Give it a try for free.